We're also here to offer tangible proof that we're actually beginning to keep our promise of creating or saving jobs. Mr. Vice President, tell me, what's going to happen when you plant 10 dead trees in Central Park, was their example. I said, then we got to plant 100 good trees in a park in some other city. Folks, all the talk about all this stuff was going to go to, $24 million to polar bear exhibits and Frisbee parks. Well, so far, thank God, that's a dog that has not bitten yet.
The federal stimulus bill that is shaping up on Capitol Hill is going to provide some $3.4 billion in direct relief to New York City over the next 2 years, and I can tell you we really need it.
We know some of this money is going to be wasted. We already have the auditors general, the inspector generals, 10 of them on the board that we have, national board we have. We ought to have them setting out guidelines because people are being scammed already. There are these scam artists out there, sending people applications. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that we know is going to go on. This is about credibility. This is about accountability. This is about transparency. Because we've never asked the Congress, the country has never, ever invested this much money in a program that is beyond the yearly budget. And we know that our credibility depends on this being done well. We have no illusions that there's going to be mistakes made.
Jobs in using stimulus money. So
you think something got by Joe?
Well, I'm not really sure, but we did a little digging, and in fact our local newspaper did some digging as well, and they called the White House. And first of all they said, okay, White House, you're claiming that you've got all this transparency, Joe Biden's hunting out for every dime that's out there. How is it that you can have jobs being shown that you're creating in districts that don't exist? And the first thing the White House said is, we're not certifying the accuracy of the information.
I really would like to see this stimulus package play out. I think it's important that the American people and the Congress of the United States have confidence in the recovery package that we have passed. I would like to have seen more of an emphasis on job creation. I don't think there's any doubt that the House bill created more jobs. But this bill will create 3.5 million jobs. And 3 weeks ago, we weren't even on this path.
Because of this plan, 3.5 million Americans will now go to work doing the work that America needs done. Will now be shovels in the ground, cranes in the air, and workers rebuilding our crumbling roads and bridges and repairing our faulty levees and dams.
When is that going to... Okay, second question. Does there need to be a real stimulus package? David Garth, the great political consultant, said you have to remove the smell of decay, replace it with the smell of construction. We all know what construction smells like: dirt, concrete, cement, wood. You can smell it on the streets when you walk by a construction site and you're a highway superintendent. When is that going to happen? When are the cranes going to go up? When are the highways going to be rebuilt? What happened to the true infrastructure spending that we're supposed to see?
We never really got it.
What happened to it?
We never got it. Even if you look at the numbers initially, they were really just a little bit bigger than the big dig.
Well, was it all just pay off the mayors and governors? Where'd all that money go?
Well, look, some people think it was just payoff and political. It went to people who already had jobs for state and local governments and for the bondholders. And I've got to tell you,
to avoid shutdowns and layoffs. But it didn't go to construction projects which people could smell and see. And I think that's what bugs people. And that's why Pelosi's not popular. She's not popular because she presided over the creation of a big grab bag of stuff from condoms to...
The Obama program it was all spending. It was all spending. And most of it was not spending for infrastructure. Most of it was spending for welfare programs, social spending.
Kudlow was referring to the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, better known as the Obama stimulus. It allocated $840 billion in funds in an effort to curb the recession. About 35% of it went to tax cuts. Taking a generous view of what can be described as social programs and welfare, about 45% was spent on these programs, money the administration expected to cycle back into the economy.
And it will require doing all we can to get exploding deficits under control as our economy begins to recover. That work begins on Monday, when I will convene a fiscal summit of independent experts and unions advocacy groups, and members of Congress to discuss how we can cut the trillion-dollar deficit that we've inherited. All of you, what you do in the coming weeks and coming months over the next couple of years is going to make a huge difference in whether or not the trust that the American people have placed in us is justified. I think you're up to the task. I think you guys will do extraordinary work with using these precious tax dollars that the American people have given up.
Using these precious tax dollars that the American people have given up.
The size of the bill has soared in the Senate, with both parties voting overwhelmingly to add $69 billion to protect the middle class from the alternative minimum tax, $11 billion in tax credits for car buyers, and $19 billion in tax breaks for home buyers, bringing the total to more than $900 billion. Today on the Senate floor, the partisan warfare continued as some Republicans complained that a bill full of wasteful spending is being shoved down their throats.
This bill stinks. The process that's led to this bill stinks.
We said we had to infuse, a lot of our people were hurting. My grandpapa had another expression, all kidding aside. He said, Joey, when the guy in Troop, which is a suburb of Scranton, when the guy in Troop is out of work, it's an economic slowdown. When your brother-in-law is out of work, it's a recession. When you're out of work, it's a depression. It's a depression for 15 million people out there. They're hurting. And ladies and gentlemen, I love my Republican colleagues saying, Biden, why are you pushing a stimulus package? Why are you out there spending this money? Well, I'll tell you why. Because there are millions of Americans today who are getting unemployment insurance who wouldn't get it but for that Recovery Act. Millions. That act. Every senior is getting attacked, got a $250 payment, one check. Everybody draws a paycheck, got a pay cut averaging $60 a month, over $5,000 a year.
Got a pay cut averaging $60 a month, over $5,000 a year.
Most economists almost unanimously recognize government is an important element of introducing some additional demand into the economy.
In fact, several hundred economists argued for more tax cuts rather than more spending. But the president dismissed that as the
failed theories of the last 8 years that got us into this fix in the first place.
The president told voters in Elkhart, Indiana, Monday that the stimulus would be good for a local highway there. Yet he insisted the bill has none of the pet projects known as earmarks.
Not a single earmark, and it has been stripped of the projects members of both parties found most objectionable.
Even so, the bill does call for some specifics that sound a lot like earmarks. $2 billion for a clean coal power plant, $2 billion for hybrid car batteries, $255 million for a Coast Guard icebreaker. Bottom line, says the president,
that it will save or create up to 4 million jobs.
But that's very hard to tell because it's very hard to put a number, and those are uncertain figures. Now, today, the president continues selling his stimulus plan by going to Fort Myers, Florida, where the housing market has completely tanked.
That it will save or create up to 4 million jobs.
Absolutely, but I don't think they realize it. Number one. Number two, it was designed to have 2 stages to it. We've only been halfway through the act. The job-creating portions are really loaded at the second half here in the major projects that are going to be being built. But yes, they have gotten their money's worth.
That's interesting.
Literally. And so, folks, this is an unprecedented undertaking, and we know that it's not 100% accurate. This has never been attempted before, and that further updates and corrections are going to be needed. But we're pleased. We're pleased to make this information available publicly and so promptly as part of the unprecedented commitment that the president made to accountability and transparency. Just the energy investments that we have put in, the federal government has put in, has brought $100 billion of private capital off the sideline that wasn't being invested before this into the game.
The numbers are staggering. The economic stimulus bill that President Barack Obama will sign into law Tuesday is worth $787 billion. That's enough money to buy nearly 2,500 Airbus 380s, the world's largest passenger jets. But how does all that cash trickle down to everyday Americans?
But I don't see it helping me, and all these people getting deals and stuff, it's not helping me.
To start, taxes. Lower and middle income workers will get $13 extra in their paycheck each week this year due to a new tax credit. It will be $8 a week next year. People who buy a home before December 1st are eligible for an $8,000 tax credit. Those who receive unemployment benefits in 2009 won't pay federal taxes on the first $2,400. Health insurance for the newly unemployed. The cost of COBRA will go down. That's the program that allows people who lose their jobs to keep their health insurance. The catch is that they have to pay the portion that the employer used to cover. That could make the monthly cost top $1,000. The government will now pay 65% of what the employer used to pay. 37 million Americans who live in poverty will get new help. 30 million people on food stamps will see their benefits go up. Those on unemployment will get $25 more a week, and the checks will keep coming for longer. 7 million people on supplemental security income will get a one-time payment of $250. 3 tax credits are expected to help many low-income Americans: a new refundable tax credit for workers and expanded child and earned income tax credits. Matt Friedman, The Associated Press.